Maturity is not about conquering adversity, but about learning to accept every pain within it. This quote from the existentialist philosopher Albert Camus reminds you and me that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Even though he is punished to push a boulder up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down, over and over, throughout eternity. In that very despair, Sisyphus can remain calm and steadfast on his endless journey. We need to understand that this is not resignation, but reconciliation with the paradox of existence. Maturity is the moment you see clearly that life always contains countless contradictions. Times of rejection, moments of not being recognized, relationships that are out of sync, breakups and losses, or upheavals that crash down like a rock rolling back from the summit. You may feel hurt, confused, perhaps you've cried yourself dry and screamed at it all. Yet you can still choose to accept pain as a necessary part of your path and live with it consciously. As Eastern wisdom says, a human life is like a green tea leaf. Only when it can bear boiling water and merge with it does it release its fragrance. When you can stop demanding the world run according to your will, when you can fully accept pain, you'll begin to find true freedom within imperfection itself. Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to Love and Life, the channel for holistic self-development through great books. Today, I'm sharing a classic novel, Charlotte Brontë's Jane Eyre. When you read this book, you'll realize that a truly mature person is not the one who can sweep every obstacle from their path, but the one who learns to accept suffering when life goes against their wishes and still keeps going. But how do we know whether we're accepting positively or merely submitting passively and blindly? How do we live in boiling water and still release our own fragrance into the world? Jane Eyre shows us 3 inner forms of wisdom that help us accept pain fully, so we can grow into real maturity and build happiness right inside life's imperfections. Now, let's begin. To accept pain fully, start with the wisdom of self-respect. A typhus outbreak took Jane Eyre's parents when she was 10. Orphaned, she was taken in by her uncle's family. Worse still, a year later, the only person who loved her, her uncle, died. Life snatched away Jane's last ray of light. From then on, she was bullied in her aunt's household. Her cousin was vicious and abusive. Her aunt despised Jane and treated her like a thorn in the eye. Jane often had to hide in corners to avoid her cruel cousin's torments. Her whole body tensed whenever he approached. She tried to be cautious to the tiniest detail, but still the aunt beat and scolded her daily. One day, after her cousin struck her head and drew blood, Jane leapt up to defend herself. Her aunt cared nothing for reason. She locked Jane in a room rumored to be haunted. The terrified girl screamed to be released until she fainted, but the aunt showed no mercy and kept the door barred. In that mansion, even the servants could insult her at will. Jane lived like a furtive little mouse, suffering daily under injustice and emotional cruelty. A servant advised Jane, "Don't think that living here makes you one of us. You must obey and submit to make life easier." But Jane did not. That moment of utter terror in the Red Room brought a piercing realization. The source of all this misery was simply that she didn't belong there. Instead of blaming herself or dissolving into despair, Jane recognized that the injustice surrounding her was not her fault. She understood that suffering does not define a person's worth, and that she deserved to be treated with dignity. so she refused to become a tool serving her aunt's malice. In truth, accepting pain is not passive endurance that turns you into a slave of the spirit. It is holding fast to your self-respect. Why are stress, chronic insomnia, and self-isolation so common today? One key reason is how we respond to adversity. Faced and resignation within toxic relationships is everywhere. Some women endure domestic violence, yet cannot leave, believing their children need a father, or that divorce marks their failure, until self-respect withers and fear and dependence take root. Others keep sacrificing themselves for controlling partners, just to preserve familiarity. Still others flee past failures in work or love by numbing with cigarettes, alcohol, gaming, or endless shopping. But they don't realize they are like climbers caught in a blizzard, too afraid to move forward, unwilling to find their way back. Acceptance does not mean lying down to die. It means bravely loosening each knot that binds you. Many of us have been locked in the red room of our own fears and pains. Jane chose to stand up. Yet many out there are losing the voice of their own hearts. Nietzsche warned, "He who fights with monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster." If you let the uncontrollable, or people who won't change, push you into helplessness, if you allow harm to keep happening, letting your heart be shattered again and again, you are destroying your own life with your own hands. Dear friend, suffering cannot define or decide your life. How you meet it does. Like a river that cannot stop rocks from falling in, yet chooses to bend and keep flowing, let hardship temper you into a stronger version of yourself, not a spiritual captive suffering alone in the dark. As Jane proved, our souls need love. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and respect. To accept pain fully, we need the courage to step out of our comfort zone illusions. After awakening in that locked room, Jane went to Lowood School. She soon discovered it was a place of control and dehumanization. Spoiled food, freezing dorms, hypocritical moralizing, harsh quotas, mental servitude. Many lives were taken by disease, yet Jane did not yield. She yearned to go on living meaningfully, so she studied relentlessly. French, drawing, music. These skills later made her a fine teacher at Lowood. But when Miss Temple, the one beacon of kindness, left, Jane saw the peace at Lowood for what it was, a psychological cage. She decided to advertise for a new position, even though it meant losing the hard-won stability she had achieved. Many stayed at Lowood out of fear, just as we often remain in suffering because we have found a certain safety to cling to. You hate your job. Your values are distorted at work. You're stuck in an unhappy marriage. You lost yourself for someone else. You abandoned your passion to satisfy your family or chase society's metrics. You're miserable sustaining this state. Yet when your heart begs you to love and respect yourself, you hush it and stay where you are. Ask yourself honestly, what reason are you clinging to? What are you afraid of? Erich Fromm wrote that the fear of freedom makes people choose slavery. Many don't dare to let go of something to change their reality. They fear risk so much they trade freedom for what's familiar, even as it erodes body and soul. Some call maintaining a draining job or staying in a harmful relationship adult responsibility. In truth, it's surrender to suffering. Again, Jane shows us, to accept pain fully, we need the wisdom of steadfastness. Leaving Lowood, Jane became a governess at Thornfield Hall, where she met the love of her life, Mr. Rochester. Two kindred souls drew near. But on the brink of marriage, a secret surfaced. Rochester already had a wife, locked in the attic, mad and violent. He pleaded. He had been deceived into the marriage and knew nothing of her condition. He kept everyone safe by confinement. He begged Jane to flee with him to the Mediterranean and start anew. Jane refused to become the other woman. She left at dawn before anyone awoke, taking nothing. She chose to keep her self-respect and moral wholeness, accepting the pain to come as a necessary part of her journey. This was the turning point of her inner growth. Penniless, starving, and freezing, Jane nearly died, but was rescued by St. John Rivers, a cousin she'd never met. With capability and integrity, she secured a village teaching post and earned the community's respect. St. John, handsome and learned, pursued her, far more eligible than Rochester, who was bound to a wife. Yet Jane realized his proposal did not spring from love, but from using marriage as a tool for religious mission. She declined. Love must come from sincerity, not blind sacrifice. Then she mysteriously heard Rochester calling her name. She returned to Thornfield, only to find it in ruins. During a fire set by his wife, Rochester had saved others, but lost a hand and nearly all sight. His wife perished. By now, Jane had discovered an inheritance from an uncle. She was financially independent. Seeing Rochester broken and poor, she neither looked down on him nor feared the hardship. She felt a warm, clear love arise. She wanted to be his support. Looking back over Jane's life, we see that in any circumstance she accepts pain as part of the path, never collapsing or running away, but transforming it into strength to build true happiness. This comes from self-respect, self-love, the readiness to let go, and the wisdom of steadfastness, not regretting the past, not fearing the future. Leaving her aunt's house, warm meals but a trampled soul, Jane felt no regret. After 6 difficult years at Lowood, she relinquished that hard-won stability, unafraid of an unknown future. Upon learning her fiancé had a wife, she did not go mad or hate him. She understood his helplessness and still let go, despite the poverty ahead. At journey's end, faced with a maimed, impoverished Rochester, she did not regret refusing a perfect marriage to St. John. She chose Rochester, not out of duty, but from a heart that placed sincerity above calculation. And then, a quiet miracle. Rochester recovered vision in one eye and saw their child. Jane's path teaches us, maturity isn't avoiding mistakes, but living wholeheartedly and owning each choice without regret, without anxiety about a future not yet here. Her life is unwavering loyalty to core values. First, give up material comfort to keep self-respect and self-love. Second, choose growth and learning over submission. Third, let go of what you have to keep your conscience. And finally, accept hardship to live truthfully. Jane said, "The more solitary, the more friendless, the more unsustained I am, the more I will respect myself. If something is unavoidable, learn to accept it, for refusing to accept what fate puts before you is weakness and delusion. This is not rigidity. It is the wisdom of someone who knows that true maturity comes when we awaken by being honest with our own hearts." A note to you who are in pain. As children, reading Jane Eyre felt like a fairy tale romance with a happy ending. Now, after life's many miles, we see it as a book of awakening, teaching maturity and calm acceptance of suffering. We're often told to overcome adversity. But does that urge make us hastily smother or flee anything that hurts? Running or killing pain only moves us from one pain to the next. Jane points to a more luminous way. Maturity is not defeating pain, but bravely conversing with it. From my own experience, when pain swells in your chest, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say, "I know this pain is a necessary part of my journey. I accept it, and I'm grateful it has appeared." Pain is the strictest teacher, but the truest friend. Thank you for helping me become stronger, clearer, and more loving toward myself. Know that everyone and everything entering your life has its reason. Don't hate or rage when pain comes. Resistance keeps wounds from healing. Let pain teach you to love and respect yourself, to be honest with your heart, to be compassionate to others, and to loosen the lure of material comfort or the craving for false safety. Just as Jane used these core values to accept suffering, grow through each experience, and finally attain real freedom. To you whose chest burns like fire, you deserve love and kindness, even if life's lessons are hard and relentless. Clarity, wisdom, and compassion already live within you. Your soul is whispering, "Awaken them." You are strong enough to wake from the dream, just as Jane awoke in her darkest night. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone who needs it. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to catch new videos every week. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.